Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Boss Rush Spotlight podcast, where we highlight some of our favorite creators, developers, and other veterans from the game industry. I'm one of your hosts, Stephanie Klimov, and alongside me today, I have PK Power, Pat Klein, in the house.
Hey, how you doing, Stephanie?
I had some extra coffee, so I am awake, but I'm very excited, very, very excited to have these guests on the show. We've met them at PAX East, but we're here to introduce them to our Boss Rush community and beyond. We have the awesome devs behind Fretless, the Wrath of Riffson, Ritual Studios, Jeff, Dave, Max, and Connor. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so actually, if before we go into the icebreaker, I was wondering if I could just kind of highlight each and every one of you, and you guys could give a one or two liner about your role on the dev team. So I'm going to start just in order by names. Jeff, we'll start with you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jeff Linville. I do sound and music for Fretless, and then also some of like the world level design stuff. Yeah, that's it for me.
Excellent. Dave, you're up.
Yeah, I'm Dave Anderson. I do engineering and production for Fretless. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Max?
Hi, I'm Max Slubbers. I do design and engineering.
Excellent. And last but certainly not least, Connor.
Hey there, I'm Connor Smith, and I'm the artist and animator for Fretless.
Sweet. Well, I gotta say, and I'm not just saying it because we're on a recording together, but your game and you as a team collectively have been the highlight of my trip to PAX 2024, along with those at Astro Clock Tower that made Pat help me out, COVID brain. Cat game.
What is it, Chrysalis?
Crystalla, thank you, Crystalla.
Thank you.
Between the both of you guys, you know, you were single-handedly the most memorable walking away from PAX. I can't get enough of, talking about your game, getting you guys here on this show. So I do want to say it is truly an honor to have you guys take time out of your day, especially the latter half of your day, to speak with us.
Thanks for having me.
We're delighted to be here. And that's really great to hear. I mean, if you can't stop thinking about it, I think we have, a cute little
Yeah,
world,
we got something.
so, yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely looking forward to catching up and seeing what's been going on the last few months. At the time of recording, it's early July. This recording set to come out probably late August. But before we do that, I just have like a little fun, quirky little icebreaker gauntlet, just made out of either random or topical questions, and just spit out your answer. We don't need to be formal or round robin. Coffee or tea? What's keeping you caffeinated
Coffee.
during this process?
Coffee.
Easily.
Yeah.
All of us coffee,
Yeah.
probably.
It would have to be an
Do-
unhealthy amount of tea, I think.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. I'm a big tea drinker, but that's just
Yeah.
because I grew up with tea. It's never what keeps me going. I have to have coffee. There's actually this new thing I found at the mall where they freeze dry the coffee. So it's instant coffee, but you can make iced coffee right away, and it actually tastes good.
No.
so you just
Um,
drink beans? Is
I
that?
had- I had 2 of that, and I was shaking.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's how you know it's good.
I gotta say, I'm the odd one out of the group. I caffeinate myself with Diet Coke.
I was going to say Monster.
I also drink Diet Coke.
I do love a Diet Coke.
Yeah. Nothing
Wait.
better.
What happens if we're fueled by tea, coffee, Diet Coke, and Monster? Do I have a problem?
I think you got
Music
to wrap back around, and you fall asleep. That's probably what happens.
There you go. All right. What is y'all's favorite video game or franchise? Because I know favorite video game of all time is kind of a daunting question, and usually it's not just one.
Oh,
Go.
What was a favorite game? I mean, I
do.
could find a favorite in my memory, Yeah.
My favorite game, like of all time, is Guild Wars 1.
Oh,
It's like a MMO
Okay.
from like 2006, and I still play it a lot. I can't move
That's
on.
awesome.
I had a friend that absolutely loved Guild Wars 1. Guild Wars 2 came out and everyone was switching over to that, but my friend's like, nope, I'm just sticking with Guild Wars 1.
Yeah, no, there's like diehards that still play. It's very active still, and I also play like a lot of Guild Wars too. I'll probably play that after this. But
He
Nice.
just
I
got
love
me back
MMOs.
into
Like,
it.
I can't get enough of it. They're terrible games, but I can't stop playing. So
I'm more on the shorter term. I play like the shorter indie titles, but I've done MMOs back in the day.
you play Final Fantasy 11 still on a private
No,
server?
I don't. Not
Dog.
anymore. No, that has been put to rest for
Okay.
good for the third time in my life.
All
So,
right.
yeah, we'll talk about number 4 someday.
Okay.
I really love RPGs, but I can pick a favorite game, and it's probably Life is Strange. I just love that game. It's just unique and has unique mechanics and really good writing and all that from
Are you,
Don't. So
are you excited for Double Exposure?
yeah. Is that the 4th in the series now?
The
Yeah.
4th in the series and direct sequel to the first one.
Oh, direct sequel to the first one. I didn't know that.
It stars Max.
Oh, it does. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Very
I
exciting.
am excited. I'm gonna have to look into that. I didn't see too much about it, so
Oh yeah, definitely check it out. It should be exciting. And from what I understand, they said either choice at the end will still be like the canon ending. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
gonna be
Interesting.
curious to how they're gonna pull that off.
yeah, they're gonna wrap it up. That's cool.
Hmm
Hey Pat, I know I had mentioned this name in our group chat, but doesn't Nick Apostolides voice someone from the Life is Strange series? Or no?
I don't know.
Or am I just
Actually,
pulling that random fact out of my butt?
I think you just pulled it out of your butt.
Oh,
Nick,
hold on, I'm gonna
uh,
look it up, and then while Connor tells us his favorite video game and/or game franchise.
I was gonna say mine's totally out of left field from all these RPGs. Mine's Okami. It's like originally the PS2. You're basically a celestial wolf, and you like learn ink skills, and you can like draw lily pads to jump on. And it was like something where I was like, oh, I want to make games. This is what I want to do. But it definitely is like got that like sweet area of nostalgia where like you're like 13 to, you know what I mean? There's like a period where like if you play it now, you'll still feel that thing of like when you first started playing video games. Like,
Nice.
oh,
I'm glad you said that, 'cause it's one of those games that I've retroactively purchased and downloaded, and it's sitting very patiently in my backlog.
It's
you
so
would
good.
like it. It's Zelda with art mechanics.
Yeah.
That's basically
Just
what
get
I've been
your game
told.
tutorials. You're good.
Hmm It's a great game. I love it. I'd love the sequel
Yeah.
too.
As Pat alluded to, I'm a big Zelda fan. I grew up not very culturally inclined with video games. I just grew up watching my cousin play Ocarina of Time, and that's kind of how I got sucked into the world of video games. And it's just been primarily Zelda titles until I joined Boss Rush. And after that, I've been dabbling with horror, and I'm a big fat chicken, and also indie games. Indie games have been kind of what I gravitate to the most, which makes sense here. So,
Right.
all right. Is there any particular most anticipated video game for 2024 for you other than Fretless?
Wow.
For
me,
I think
2024. I think for me personally, it's anticipated for me because I haven't played it yet, but Hades 2. So like I'm sitting there waiting to play it, right? But I want the updates to come out. But so that'll probably happen in 2024. So I think I can kind of use that as a
you didn't
Not
get
in
it.
the first one now again, trying to like ward off the desire to just dive into the second one. But
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm gonna wait till it's done. Sorry, Jeff.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
I do love the first one. It's such a good game. But yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think my most anticipated game was Animal Well, which came out recently.
Yep.
I mean, I think
Good one.
the next one is really looking forward to Avowed, the Obsidian game, because I really like Pillars of Eternity, both of them. And it's a really interesting looking game. I'm not sure what it's going to be like, to be honest with you. Looks cool though.
We know it's Obsidian, so it's going to be good.
Right, like the writing and stuff will probably be great. I'm really curious about it. So
nice. All right. Well, if we're on to our last icebreaker, what's your, if you have one, biggest video game hot take? Like, I'll give you a
This
basic
one you
one.
got 4 developers and nobody's like, no, what's my hot take?
Everything's
Do I have
perfect.
any hot takes about games?
Oh,
I don't know. I think for me, this is definitely a preferential thing, but just like play a lot of them. You know, like I talked to like my nephews, primarily my nephews. I love them, and I'm always like, what kind of games are you playing? And it's like Fortnite. I'm like, oh, what else? And they're like, Fortnite. You know, and that's cool. I get that. I get it. But you know, there's a lot. There's this, and there's more and more like every day. You know, and there's just like there's so much. It's really interesting for me to dissect and play new games.
thank you. Can I just
Yeah.
quickly piggytail?
Piggyback.
Piggytail. I can't tonight. Corey, I am so sorry. I have a son and he's 8, and I'm like, this is going to be a great relationship because I'm into video games. I'm going to be the coolest mom ever. I'm going to expose him to all this amazing stuff. I'm going to make him a cultured gamer.
Yeah.
Minecraft, which I'm finally accepting, but now it's Roblox, and I just want to pull my hair
That
out.
is like
Going through it. Yeah.
Roblox is crazy. There's there's devs that make games in Roblox though. Like
yes,
that's the true metaverse, I'm pretty sure.
yes.
I'm like 90% sure that's what's going on in there.
Yeah.
There is a slight brilliance to that, but at the same time, I'm like trying to show. Whenever I watch a director showcase, I watch it with him. Be like, look at this,
Yeah,
look at
this
that, look at this, and he goes, "Okay, I'm gonna go play Roblox now." I'm like, "Ah."
I have the same
Anyway.
thing with my daughter, and I've tried to combat it with we play Minecraft together. So like build a little house, like
Nice.
building like
You talking about
Minecraft
Roblox?
like, together is like 10 times easier because I'm like, okay, now I'm like on the same level, you know, because she's 10 right now. But I try to get as many co-op games as possible. Like we just beat Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's like Playdigious, like our publisher.
Shredder.
I think we're the ones that helped port it.
Sponge.
It's pixel art. It's gorgeous, and like me, my wife, and my daughter were able to play it, and it was like just so snappy and fun. It's like a street beat 'em up kind of thing, like the old Homer Simpson, you know.
You also make her play test our game too, don't you?
Dude, she will destroy everything. It's like, this is annoying.
She might have played more hours than we have at this point.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Like she's like got no filter, so it's great. So it's like I'll write all that little stuff down.
I was gonna say that's like perfect, truthful feedback. If you can impress your daughter with your game, then you know you're gonna make it.
Yeah. It's like I'm not gonna
love
read
seeing
this.
kids play.
No one's gonna read this.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. Enough of all that. Why don't we just talk about your actual the game that you're making, Fretless. Just for sake of new listeners that aren't familiar, I'm just gonna skim over the summary that can be found on the Steam page, which I shouldn't have to tell our audience again and again. Please wish list these titles. It helps the developers immensely. So, you play as Rob, a friendly musician trying to restore harmony in an off-tuned world where wacky villains are corrupting music. Rick Riffson, boss of the evil Super Metal Records company, is using the Battle of the Bands contest to extend his hold on every last note, chord, and song by trapping the best musicians with deceptive soul-binding contracts. Sorry, I'm not really good at my reading voice right now. Embark on an adventure with Rob and his zany, rock-loving friend and SMR's plans. Stay alert during your journey. Riffson's devilish goons, monster instrument hybrids, and legendary musical animals will try to get in your way. Explore this musical land to add sick riffs to your deck and wield your mighty guitar to unleash powerful crescendo attacks in epic music battles. Carefully composed by Ritual Studios, Fretless is a pixel art adventure set in Rob Scallion and his friends' diverse musical rock world. So with that cheesy reading of mine, I want to first talk about your buddy Rob Scallion, or is it Scallon? I said Scallion. I realized I said that wrong. Scallon. I'm so sorry, Rob.
It's okay. He gets it all the time.
I'm just probably thinking of food all the time. I think that's my problem. So Rob's a real person. He is a YouTube musician at Rob Scallon, Scallon, and someone that you guys have known for quite some time. So how did this collaboration come to fruition, meaning music and then game?
I could probably take this one. So I grew up with Rob. He's like a friend from my childhood. Like we went to high school together. He's a really good rollerblader, so I used to like follow him around. He's like a few years older than me, so I looked up to him. And eventually I started like filming for his channel, like when it wasn't like super big. Like I would film a lot of his videos, and it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And then eventually I went to game school, and kind of just, I don't remember exactly how the idea came about, but wanted to make a game. Thought it would be interesting to do a music RPG. Well, actually, the game kind of started as like it was going to be like a joke thing, like a really tiny. Everybody's laughing because we've been working on the project for like 6 years, so it's not really a joke anymore. It's kind of a sick joke if you think about it. But it was going to be this like little flash game or something that like one of his YouTube videos would like take you to, like a website or something. And we kind of started making it. Everybody got on board, and then it just kind of like didn't stop going. It just kept doing this, growing and growing and growing. And then eventually I think we were pretty far in development. We were working on it for like 2 or 3 years, like part-time, like we all had other jobs and stuff. And then I think there was a moment where we kind of realized like, we think the game is actually really good. And we should probably, like, the concept was cool and everything, and it was just interesting. And then we were realizing like we couldn't, if we wanted to make this full game, we couldn't do it on the side anymore. It was kind of like a make or break moment. So we really decided to kind of get a publisher, but that's how that went.
Excellent.
And then Rob, like Rob's influence on it is it's based, you play as him. A lot of the lore and stuff is like based on like gags that he's had on his channel. So like Rick Riffson is like a character on his channel. And then, there's a lot of like small references, but we really wanted to make it so that you don't actually have to know or care who Rob is. Like you don't need to know anything. The story is completely unique to this game. Minus like like 1 or 2 characters you would recognize, and then like really niche references that you wouldn't even notice if you don't know who Rob is. So
I was going to say, will there be any? Oh, sorry.
No, I was saying that's a little long-winded, so please go ahead.
No, this is really great because I remember having a bit of this discussion at PAX, and I kind of wanted to know a bit more. So with a player that maybe is not familiar with his work, will there be little nuggets in there that they can maybe eventually discover his work on YouTube? Like, will there be a way for, fanship to go the other way, so to speak?
Yeah, not really. We didn't really want to. I think our main priority was we didn't really want to alienate anybody. Like, oh, this is like the YouTuber game, or oh, this is Rob's game. Like, I'm not a fan of Rob. I'm not going to play that. We think the concept is like cool, like a music RPG where you're like playing music to fight, and we'd hate to kind of like potentially, like I said, alienate people that aren't into Rob or think it's just some stupid YouTube game or something like that. So.
Yeah.
Knowing Rob should be like a. Oh, go ahead.
There are some Sorry, Connor, you're really quiet. I apologize. I think I did talk.
My bad. I was just saying, real quick, like artistically in the beginning, there was not that much to kind of set this theme up in a musical way. So using some aspects of Rob, like his like white cello he has, like a cool musical piece to have in the center, and that kind of spawned other ideas from that. But definitely a couple little snippets of things. But I think Jeff definitely covered it by saying like we wanted this game to stand alone in its own aspect. That definitely shows. Sorry to cut you guys off.
If you do not know who Rob is and you play and enjoy Fretless, and then you go to Rob's channel and start watching his content, you will start to see, Easter eggs that are not very harsh. Like, they're not very hard. They're not put in, like, first of all, they're not connected to the story or game mechanics in any way. So they're not like a barrier for a person who's unfamiliar with Rob. But as Connor said, like maybe environmental pieces, as Jeff pointed out, maybe some familiar characters that maybe made an appearance in a video of Rob's or something. But through Fretless, these characters have grown in their identity. into like a full unique, just very, very much for the purpose of this game and story. So yeah, Rob is a very much a real person, and he has a very strong identity, and he has his own, his own musical world through what he does, and we have kind of weaved that in. And if you put the little pixel art caricature of Rob next to Rob, they're the same, but they're also two different people. So I think, yeah.
Nice, well put. One last question with regard to Rob and his, how it relates to the game Fretless. Has he produced any music specifically for this game, or is that kind of, you guys, I think Jeff, you said you're involved with sound design, right? Like how much is his musical brand is in this game versus your own work?
So he's not actually like working on any development. So
Got
like
it. Okay.
what we're kind of doing is like I'm taking some of the tracks that I like of his and I recompose them and rearrange them and make them like pixel chiptune style or ambient or metal or whatever. So I'm kind of like taking the tracks of his that I think would fit and then I kind of redo them. And then I have a bunch of my own stuff in there as well, like unique stuff. And then we have a third composer, a friend of mine, another Jeff Jennings, who is helping with some of the boss tracks. So there's like lots of music going on. A lot of it is Rob's. You can almost think of them as like covers or something. Reimaginings is the word I've landed on. And then yeah, me and Jeff, and then we also have some other people working on the project who I don't think we can talk about yet. But yeah, so a lot of the music is like his, but it's reimagined. So
nice. So let's see, it's July, so it's been a few months. How have things in general been since PAX East? What's changed since then versus now? Was there a particular focus in the development cycle that you can share with us?
Who's taking that?
Oh God, yeah. We've had a lot of. Let's see. When PAX East was
Late March or something? Time doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually been quite a bit that has happened. We can't really dive too deep into the details, but we've been working on a lot of stuff in the game that was not shown in the demo. Is not available on the Steam demo that becomes available every so often. There are a lot of mechanics I think that kind of excited to introduce in our next sort of like preview, I think, of the game, in whatever format that is. And we've been really hard at work kind of implementing those mechanics and integrating them into the game. We've had to do redesigns for a lot of skills to sort of accommodate. We've like essentially doubled the amount of abilities the player is able to have, not from the demo, but from the final version. So I think the demo previewed maybe 2 instruments very lightly. So there's 4 instruments, and then just a lot of animations happening, a lot of gameplay sort of balance mechanics, and yeah.
So a lot is going on, but all behind closed doors until it's ready to be revealed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there are like some things that could be, but I wouldn't want to go running around cherry picking them out to drop them. But I think that anything that could be revealed will probably be revealed soon.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
and I think the journalists will see it at Gamescom, so look out for post Gamescom talk about our game. Yeah, because there might be some stuff there.
Could I ask? So we'll keep an eye on for Gamescom. I don't know if we have anyone from Boss Rush actually attending physically in person, but we will be, keeping an eye out for news and announcements. Any plans for PAX West, or is that not in the cards?
I don't think we're doing PAX West. I think we're doing some Steam Fests, maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of quiet at the moment. So
gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
It's all right. No problem. What we'll do is we'll kind of take a different direction here. I kind of picked out some questions for each and every one of you to get to know your roles. And Pat, feel free to interject at any time. In no particular order, we'll start with you, Jeff. So you're primarily in charge of sound, music, and world design. I already actually kind of asked this first part of the question is how closely you worked with Rob on this project, and you explained how you just basically kind of remixed, so to speak, his music to fit in the theme with the game. But I guess I'll ask the second part of the question was, is it challenging to incorporate sound and music into world design?
Yes. There's a lot of reasons that is. One of them is like the battle music, which is like all unique to this game. It's unrelated to Rob. Is like it all needs to. So that's all in the demo. Like you play a riff and it's got its own music sample associated with it, and they can all go. Player can put them in any order that they want, and the enemies also have this. So it's definitely a challenge to make that all work. And then as far as like the world design stuff, I think my personal like not fear, but like something I'm really aware of is like I don't want to make it like if somebody's playing this, they're like, oh, I feel like they could have done something cooler with the music and the like design of the world, you know. So we try to like have all these like environmental pieces that are like very music related. Like we have these like pipe organs that are like blowing steam as you walk past them, and it's like all in tune with the world music and stuff like that. And we've got some like musical puzzles and stuff, and all the enemies are musical. So trying to make sure that we're capturing like this is a music RPG, and not like we have in the past like had a lot of sort of things where we're actually just kind of making like a generic RPG, and then we're like, we have to like put music in, you know, we've got to like make sure to remember and like work a little extra harder mentally to like make it very musical. So it's definitely challenging to make that work.
No, I think I get what you're saying, because it's one thing to have an RPG and just layer good music on it, because that's cool.
Yeah.
Like it's fine.
Right.
But to actually make the world exist as music, like you said, characters or kind of punny things in the environment that either look or sound like instruments. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more and that has changed since I've demoed it, but I got to see the integration of music in the world, which made it very fun and unique and stick out.
Yeah. And just to be clear, that's definitely not a me thing. That's like the whole team is like coming up with these ideas and enemies, and like we have some really cool it's all I don't know how we landed on this, but every enemy is like some animal with like used with like an instrument. Like there's like a giant crab and his hand is a tuning fork. I don't reveal. I don't think anybody saw that. But
isn't there like a spider piano or something? Or like
there's like a millipede that's like got a piano on its back, and we have I think my favorite enemy is the oboa constrictor. It looks like an oboe, but it's like a snake. So
I love it.
Yeah, like
it's laugh at it, it's like it works, and if it sounds cool.
Yeah, it's like, and when we're making these enemies, it's like the first checkbox we go through is like, will this sound good? Because like sometimes we've come up with stuff, and I've had to be like, guys, I can't. I don't have like the tools to make that sound good, or I don't have the skill, or whatever. I don't think it'll work, so we have to try something else. So.
Now, being a musical RPG, how I guess musical does your audience have to be? Like
zero
music? Yeah. Awesome. So you can be completely tone deaf and be able to pull out the musical puzzles just fine?
Yeah. It's everything either as like visual stuff with it. There's nothing that's like, oh, you need to know music theory to get this, or you need to like be able to, you know, do this or that musically to know. It's all very like, I don't want to say surface level, but it's all just very like, when we're casually talking about music right now, that's like as much as you need to know.
So. Okay.
If you like music, you'll be able to navigate all of the game mechanics.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I've definitely played some games where like they have a musical component in it, and all of a sudden it's just like a massive like almost Guitar Hero like string of buttons that just don't make sense.
Yeah.
To like what is that? Like it's like it's not matching the beat. It's just you're throwing things in there just for the sake of throwing them in there. Like
No, there's definitely like the rhythm aspect of some things, like the crescendo move. I'm sure you saw Stephanie is like there is like this little, but we really didn't want it to be like the main focus of the game. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Pat, because I, for one, love all kinds of good music, but I am tone deaf. The closest thing I've ever gotten was self teaching myself the drums, but that's literally just by listening and
Perfect. That's all you
just
need. You don't need to know
playing.
tone.
But from the bit that I've played, like it is very when I say entry level, I mean that in the best possible way because you don't want to limit your audience just for those that know how to read music and understand
Yeah.
music theory. It's something that, try a little bit here and there, and I can kind of get into the rhythm, no pun intended, of things and be able to play it and enjoy it. So,
And we certainly plan to have like pretty good accessibility options for certain things that, could teeter into the territory. So
cool. All right, Dave, you're up. Tell us more about your role in designing Fretless. Do you have any video games or movies or song, like anything that help inspire your process?
Yeah, so I do a little bit of the design, maybe like I do like the economy, but mainly I'm engineering, and I
Uh-huh.
split engineering with Max.
Okay.
Max kind of handles like enemies and weapons and combat and like that world, which ends up being like a lot, like about half, and then I kind of handle just like all the other little things like economy, saving, UI UX stuff like that.
Mm.
Uh, and yeah, so that's kind of what I do, and I do production too. So I manage the backlog, make sure we have sprints and stuff like that. And then yeah, as far as inspiration, I think when I first started, I really was thinking about like all the old JRPGs that I played, like Chrono Trigger, Pokemon, like
Mhm.
so like top down turn based pixel art games. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's what kind of was in my head. Golden Sun, of course, games like that. Um,
Yes.
Mhm.
yeah, and yeah, and then we kind of as it's gone, we've thrown in some Slay the Spire. We really love Slay the Spire. That's a great game. You'll see some influence there. And then there's this one game called SteamWorld Quest: Hand of Gilgamesh, and that is actually pretty similar to our game, and it's a really great game in that franchise. And took some of that. You'll see a lot of love for that in our game too, I think. So yeah,
Mm.
for sure.
I'm really curious about UI because whenever I talk to other writers when we're conducting reviews of games, sometimes a big pain point can be UI design. It can't
Sure.
be terribly easy, and I'm sure it depends on the kind of game you're designing, the
Yeah,
perspective and everything like that. Did
yeah.
you find yourself going back and forth between how you want to design it so it's not too crowded, or do you feel like you had
Yeah,
a good template for it?
Yeah, no, it's very, very hard. It's something that you underestimate the time for every single time. You need to hire a UX designer, which we don't have. So we've just had to like kind of figure it out through iteration, right? Like testing, trying things, throwing things at the wall, failing,
Years.
years of failing, years of horrible user interfaces. And I'm feeling really good about it now. We just did a very recent um, kind of update to it, and I'm feeling good. And I think it's at a good place. And yeah, so
Nice.
you guys let me know when you play the new demo. But
Mhm.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you.
yeah, of
And
course.
then, so since you mentioned Max, I know probably a bit more with the designing combat, right?
Yeah.
So, what are the fun and challenging aspects of designing combat? Because I remember that was super fun when I was playing the demo. I remember battling against the little musical mushroom dudes, and I felt like it was pretty seamless, but I'm sure it's a lot different when you're actually putting that all together.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. It felt seamless. It kind of sometimes feels like a big train with like differently sized cars, and there's like somehow they're all on this
Mhm.
track at the end of the day. Still,
Yeah.
especially at like public events with the demo, just watching it just still being okay because yeah, I mean there are some challenges, and I think the music and as Dave was talking about UI, that I mean it all plays a part, but it is certainly fun to make. Essentially, the box of rules for Fretless in terms of the combat and how it works puts a very it puts a very hard kind of boundary around like what a particular skill can be. Like played a lot of turn-based games, and you can maybe have like a skill that's more powerful, and it does this like really dramatic sequence. And we have sort of a restriction in our game around like how long a skill can be, and it's an exact length on beats. So when we're coming up with skill designs, like for the variety of skills, player and enemy, trying to sort of pack in enough visual clarity and distinction from the rest of the group for an ability to be played in sequence, because in Fretless you play 3 in a row, and they act off, one, the next, and it's definitely just been like a really interesting challenge to make such a large variety of different abilities that are always fitting in the same exact box. I think.
Now, I was going to say, I'm very curious how you came up with the design for the battle system, because when you think musical RPG, the last thing I think is a card-based battle mechanic.
Yeah.
Like, what inspired that?
Oh, man. I think like a lot of developers, I would only speak for myself and then the 3 in the room by proximity. But, when you're playing games, I think you're naturally trying to like exercise, or even not game developers in general, a person, if they are seeing something they like, they're going to just naturally probably try to do it. Like, you see that in kids all the time. And so whatever games we're playing at the time, you could look over a timeline of our development cycle and you could see the adjustment, and you could probably be like, that's when I was very much into, and that's when I was very much into. And we've kind of like, as Dave pointed out, SteamWorld Quest is like a very good reference for anybody who's not familiar with that game for where this kind of idea maybe stemmed from a little bit. We all love turn-based RPGs, but something that you don't see very often is in a turn-based RPG, you pick all the moves up front for the whole turn and then they execute. So we saw that in SteamWorld, and we kind of wanted to incorporate a similar concept using music, because music plays out in sequence. So we got the idea, and we thought, well, what better sort of base point for abilities than different riffs or, small pieces of music. And then when you take your turn, you organize them based off of from a strategic standpoint, what they do. This one does something, and then the next one is effective after that, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can take another layer into that. And Jeff has done a really good job with this with the audio, and you kind of link together they're 1.5 seconds roughly each skill. You link them together, and it creates this beautiful sort of melody, pattern, rhythm that is playing over top of an already consistent backing track of the same instrument. So that was our ultimate vision, was to give the players a turn where it felt like they could write about 5 seconds of music and have it be effective. And then when it works out, it sounds really well.
No, that's actually really immersive. It puts you in the shoes of the artist itself, as you're almost like composing your own piece, so that you're ready for that battle of the bands that you're getting geared up for.
And as you're venturing to Battle of the Bands, part of the journey is finding and collecting, purchasing more riffs for whatever instrument you have, or all of them. You can switch between. So as you said, it's like you are, as a musician, growing and learning more. By the time you get there, you've got a big arsenal of music, essentially.
Nice.
I don't know about you, Pat, but I feel like that's like a big dopamine rush, like being like, look what I can do. I love it.
Not only does it sound cool, it saved the world.
Right.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you, Max. Last but not least, Connor, I'm very interested about this question for you. Tell us about pixel art in modern gaming. That's not a new thing anymore. I've noticed a big trend of utilizing pixel art, but it's kind of grabbing the best of both worlds, because we're pulling from the nostalgia and our love for pixel art from back in the day, but we're using modern sensibilities. So I feel like it's gonna come out very, very well. But I would love to know about this choice and what it's like to bring your artwork to life in animation.
Well, I can start with at least pixel artists stand on the shoulders of giants. Like talking to one of the people from Playdigious, who's like, "Oh, I used to do pixel art back in the day, and like the Mac, in like the '80s or something like that." And it's like the old ways that games were designed were so laborious that having access to all these amazing programs like Sprite and stuff like that helps entry level people get in so quickly. But I think not having a base of like drawing or animation underlying all this stuff will make pixel art actually harder to start to begin with, because understanding like how to like express characters and other stuff like that kind of helps if you any medium that's you're most comfortable with, and then getting into pixel art is it's not a huge jump, but it does take some time because you can't just draw a diagonal line normally, like if you want it to look like a diagonal line. So there's like some rules set, just how there's rules within our game, there's like rules set just in the way that pixel art works in general. And I guess we just kind of chose pixel art because that was like we got a resource pack, you know, like a sprite asset to like come up with this Flash game, and then it just kind of stuck. I had no idea how to do pixel art. I was like vector animation before that, so it was kind of like a steep learning curve. But one thing we were very smart of is choosing our perspective, like our top down perspective, and like it's not tilted, or we just chose that right away, as well as kind of the aesthetic, like so no outlines. A lot of pixel art games choose outlines everywhere, so we chose to do no outlines on everything. And anything that does have an outline is like, whoa, look at me, this thing over here. So, but yeah, it's definitely a huge journey, and I feel like every time I do something, it gets a little bit quicker and a little bit easier because I'm like a little bit better. Definitely is a new experience to now. It's very familiar, so it's been a long journey.
I was going to say that's not easy to, pick up and teach yourself something, from scratch. And from what I've been playing, I would have never thought that. I think pixel art is very charming. The world, I mean, it's color too, right? It pops, it's bright, and it just goes well with the theme. I don't know if Pat, you see the art style
Yeah.
through the trailer. It's really nice.
No, between
There's
that and
definitely
the chip tunes, it works really well together.
I think that's something that makes my job easier as well, is because I've always used to do rotoscoping of like skateboard animations for a long time, and I would always like bring it in After Effects and like sync everything up to the music. That was like the best part because it's like I want the animation to like be in sync. So to like actually believe 100% through and through of like everything that's happening visually is like connected to the music or like music related.
Yes.
It's like that serotonin button is just getting pressed at the right moments because everything just like, oh, it goes like that's literally the core of the game. So it's like I don't have to like front or like pretend that, oh, this is sick. It's like, no, this is my purpose in life right now to do these skills. It's like so fun and it feels fun and other people respond to it. So, but to answer one question you said about the like modern pixel art is one thing I'm doing to be able to achieve this level of like smoothness is all the skills, just how Max said, are exactly timed to 1.5 seconds, basically 1.68 seconds. And everything is like broken down to milliseconds so you can have each beat. But by doing so, it gives me a certain amount of frames. I can either have one frame where he holds, or I can have 12 at 35 milliseconds each, or something like that. So it's like, it's just over time I've been able to like more frames and higher frame rate works well when you can hold the pose of a character but then move them across the screen for those 35 milliseconds. So you can like have him just be in two poses. You could have 6 frames of each where he's like moving between that, and effects are happening as well. So like just a really good tip for animation in general is have things at different times. You know, like you have your character at one and you have the other one. It's like high speed motion versus slow motion. That will add a lot of depth to any animation. And the principles, you know, like overlapping and overarching animation, squash and stretch, all that.
Oh, that's so neat. Awesome. Thank you.
You should see the screenshots. They're hilarious. Like, I can't believe you guys said it was cool. A long way.
No, Steph and I both really love our indies, and we do have a passion for games that do have the pixel art. It doesn't matter graphics. Well, nice. If it doesn't really fit with the story, then it just isn't as good. And sometimes the pixel art, actually a lot of times the pixel art mixed in with how the story is told, makes it, just amplifies it just that much better, I feel.
That,
So.
and if you can express emotion through pixel art, you're a master, number one. Number two, we've all seen it with the older generations trying to master realistic graphics. and then it doesn't really age well. Just throwing it out there.
Right. I think pixel art plays a really big role in Fretless kind of becoming its own world. Actually, we can kind of put that perspective in, because we were to have real world graphics and we have real world Rob, then we have to try and make real game Rob look like real world Rob, and then it becomes less Fretless, more real world Rob. And now I think, so now Rob has a square mouth that is a little black dot. When he's surprised, it becomes 2 black dots. But we can still be like, that's Rob, and it's got this cool, cute aesthetic. And Connor is just amazing at like making it look fluid, because it's just all blocky, a lot of the time. So
yeah. I think that was something that happened maybe 2 years in. Like, we had different aesthetics. Like, we've always like, oh, we're having an art test for the character. Right now he's just like, and he's like really tall and he's like giant and lanky. But like, once I kind of like baked down the faces to like the 4 dots for the eyes, and they're kind of separated, basically like gave a structure for like the original base. Like, Rob is like every character's structure, and then they're all expanded upon that. Because you're just able to express emotions very easily with those eyes. With like just dipping one of them, it's like looks like he's angry, and you do another one, it's like so minimal of a change, but it does like eons, because you're looking at it from now. You're not so close,
It's gonna be funny to do those posts where it's like, here's what the game looked like at the start, and like
I can't.
There's
I
like
think the
7
battle
to 10
system was
rounds.
literally like 2 cats fighting. I
It
think
was
you made that next.
Hey, we're gonna make turn-based games, so these 2 little cats just shot fireballs at each other.
Blink, blink, blink. Yeah.
That's
So we've got a lot of like really old videos and stuff of like what the game looked like before it had like its style. That's kind of how every game goes through that. It's like,
right.
Yeah.
We did
you can
not
tell
make
the concept was there, but like we did not hit it.
Oh, Endless Runner Flash game. That was the start.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It did not happen, but we've gone the arc.
That
Yeah.
makes me want to skip all the way to my favorite question, which I know doesn't necessarily apply to everybody, but because when you talk about that, I'm like, okay, if you guys were to ever release a physical collector's or deluxe or edition, what would you, if there was no financial limitations, what would it be? Because for me, I'm like, I want an art book and I want a soundtrack, obviously, whether it's CD or vinyl or both.
Maybe like a 45.
So
yeah,
like,
vinyl would be sweet.
yes. Yeah, what
Vinyl.
would be in your ultimate deluxe collector's edition if there were no limitations other than the vinyl? Because that's a must.
So Rob is really famous for like giving away instruments. I feel like there's got to be an instrument in there,
With
like
everyone.
some small instrument. It couldn't be like a guitar, right? But if it maybe like a harmonica or something, I don't know what, but there's got to be an instrument.
A fretless harmonica, yes.
That'd be cool.
That used to be an instrument in
That
the
was the
used to
first
be.
instrument.
It used to be the
That
first.
We start with the acoustic now, but that was one of the things like I was talking about earlier is like, do you really want to play with harmonica for like however long?
Yeah,
Like
Hours and hours.
it's not, it didn't have enough like dynamics to it to like make it.
Yeah.
Maybe we could do it now. I wasn't as good back then, but like it was
Maybe
like,
that could
oh,
be DLC.
acoustic. What?
DLC,
Yeah, DLC harmonica.
Yeah, harmonica DLC. Every enemy is a harmonica. You are a harmonica as well.
Character.
And you fight against an army of kazoos.
Yeah,
There you go.
you fight kazoos. We don't like
Writes
kazoos.
itself.
Yeah.
The dynamic range for the audio is through the roof.
But yeah, the first instrument used to be a harmonica instead of an acoustic. So it's kind of fun.
Mhm.
That would be a great collector's item.
Sorry, I got cut. It's like inscribed on the harmonica.
Sorry, I got cut.
Didn't make the team.
Yeah.
Well, you know what would be
Um,
sweet is if you guys had like a guitar pick, a fretless guitar pick.
Oh, for sure.
We actually
Oh, yeah.
had them at PAX, did we not?
A gold one.
I think we had.
guitar pick.
It was
I know
on
we've
the
had designs for
merch
guitar
list.
picks.
I'm sure it will happen.
Yeah, we've had like designed
Oh,
guitar
metal.
picks and stuff.
Connor
And that's
has a
always
little plushie behind him. It's percussion. It's like everybody's
yeah.
favorite enemy. That would probably be in the box.
Yeah,
For Christmas.
yes. I love
It-
that.
it's like-
Oh my
It's hilarious. It's adorable.
goodness. Very much so. Oh, okay.
So
That
sweet.
too.
I have
And a record, obviously.
Mhm, mhm.
a little Lego.
That was percussion.
Oh, that's
That's
awesome.
what I did when I had
I
a
love the eyes. That's perfect.
Mhm.
I've always wanted to see a vinyl with like you have like a flip book of a character running. I always thought it would be interesting on a vinyl to put like a character
like a Zoetrope.
sprite.
They make
So
those.
when it spins around, it
Yeah.
looks like I don't know
I've
how it
seen
would look.
those.
In my mind, I think it would be cool.
No, it works. I've
Oh,
seen
well,
those.
then there we go. Then
Yeah.
that's what I want. I want
Yeah.
a running
That'd be
musician.
cool. That's a
Then you'll
good
get
idea.
it
Yeah.
because there's
Yeah.
no budget. They just
No budget.
he just said.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
It's
See,
so fast.
everybody, if you just wish list this game and then proceed to purchase it once it's out, then we could
Yeah,
be
true.
able to have the collector's
Yeah, for
edition
life.
that we've always wanted.
Yeah, please do.
Power rap.
I don't know if I can ask this. It's an adjacent question, but it will be available on Steam. Do you guys have like a roadmap of where you'd want to be available on other platforms, or is that kind of a question maybe too soon to ask?
Where we
Like
want to be
Switch.
available.
Yeah, Switch, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, speaking completely out of like formal timelines, I mean, I think we'd
Right.
all love to see it come to Nintendo Switch. Like I was talking about my nephews earlier, they play Nintendo Switch. It's a great,
It feels like a
just,
Switch game.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that would be. I would feel proud if it were there.
It's definitely a dream of mine too. I mean, my
Mhm.
first console was like Super Nintendo in the original Nintendo. That I played that
Right.
before I even got one. That would be a dream.
I feel like all the indie devs are like Switch. Like it's like, oh, PlayStation, Xbox, whatever. I want it on Switch. That's the dream. Like I don't know why. We all just feel that way.
That's where the magic happened. Like Stephanie,
Yeah.
she fell Ocarina of Time, Nintendo, Zelda. It's like
Joy-Cons.
It's nostalgic for sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
this is
and
fun
there-
for adults and kids. Also, really seem to like it a lot. So
And you
Nintendo.
can't deny the portability of it because
True.
this is the first time in my life, by the way, first time that I've been able to have every single modern system. I have a Steam Deck / PC to play games, not a high power PC, it's a gaming laptop. Who are we kidding? I have a Series X, I have a PS5, a Nintendo Switch. This is the order of how much mileage it gets. Nintendo Switch,
Yeah.
then my PS5 because I just like their third-person story games, and then Steam Deck, and then my poor Xbox. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's the type of games, and everybody's different, right? I know people who's the complete reverse, but I don't know. I think the portability is a big part of it. Like I also got the PlayStation Portal, so even though I could only play it in the house with a PS5, but that's great. All the more reason to be playing video games in my bed or something. So
Yeah.
Something to be said about that. Now, from a logistics standpoint, generally speaking, is that something that you work with your publisher as far as platforms and planning for the future?
Yeah, they'll kind of handle those
Mhm.
things, and we'll, if the time comes, we'll get it over there.
Nice.
And I'll
They're
be
really
excited
good
about
at
it.
wording.
Yeah, it's
But
essentially
they kind
out of our
that's,
hands.
Like, really important part of having a publisher is like they do this kind of thing for you. They get it going. So
Yeah, truth is we don't have time for that. We're making this game.
Yeah, you're trying to finish the game. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
So it's great
Yeah.
that they handle that. Honestly.
Nice. Well, I'm kind of looking towards the end of our list here. Pat, is there any other questions or anything you might want to ask you could think of?
Well, I was kind of curious. The world I saw when I looked at the demo I was viewed, they showed like kind of a ruins with a forest. Like, what other biomes will this world like kind of get into?
there's like a volcano area. We tried to have like kind of unique. I guess like forest isn't very unique.
We kind of floated close to the traditional RPG
Yeah.
landscape from the start. It was our
I don't
first
know
game, so we were
why-
kind of like figuring out where we were going to start, right? And then we kind of branched.
Yeah.
You gotta
I don't know
start
how
at
this happened
easy
because-
grass or forest.
Yeah.
Move your way to the volcano.
Well, it's Harmony Heights is the town that you're living in, correct? Right? And you're just this very peaceful town secluded in the forest. I think that's probably partially why a lot of RPGs are like this, because you're away.
You want something
from the
to
big
fight
city.
for,
Yeah.
like you need the Shire before you want to go to
Exactly.
Mordor.
There you go.
Basically,
you
yeah,
gotta
Target
have the-
rings,
something to protect, I guess.
Right.
Very true.
So like an actual breakdown of our biomes is like we got forest, we got more forest, darker forest. We've got
Scary forest.
we got forest, we got scary forest. We got forest, darker forest. There's definitely
Forest and volcano.
Sky
there's a
forest.
volcano. There's a beach. Of course, because the world is divided into two continents, and you travel over to the other one, so you have to travel from the beach. We got a big snowy mountain, a tundra that kind of revolves around the base of the mountain, music venues.
Yeah, there's like a Battle of the Bands where there's like a parking lot with like touring bus. Something weird about the game too is like I feel like we've talked about this in passing, but like you would think this setting would be extremely contemporary when you would think of a music game. Like it would be based in a city with cars. There's no cars really until the last level. Like it's ancient ruins. It just like kind of happened like that. It's really weird.
Interesting.
But we tried to be unique with them. Like we try to get like a lot of verticality so you can see over vistas and stuff like that. And then like the volcano area, I think the initial concept of it was like, oh, it's like a fun, happy tropical beach. And then we're like, we really like the like Seattle, Oregon area. Like maybe we can make it like a rainy fishing village or something, like something a little different. So we try to do slight spins on like, I guess like typical RPG stuff, like based on honestly what we like. Just like I really like the Oregon and Seattle like area. Like I live in the Midwest, so it's very cool to see like a hill that's bigger than this, to me. So, so that was like part of it, and then and then once you get to the Battle of the Bands, it is like this like modern area with like there's like touring buses and merch tents and stuff like that. It's just kind of very strange how it turned out like that, to be honest with you.
That sounds cool. Always love. That's one of my favorite things about RPGs is just the exploration. That's why I ask about that. I just want to know like what kind of cool areas are we going to get to experience in this game.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of it, it's all like a ton of it is like music theme. Like the dark forest area, like there is a boss in there called the Ox Arachnid. And he's a giant spider, but his legs are like aux cables, and there's like string, like guitar string spider webs and stuff like that. So I don't think that was in the demo, but everyone will see it soon, I'm sure.
Nice.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about this the biomes is like what Jeff's saying, like the music, like each one feels very unique and particular to like this like ambient track, and it's kind of refreshing. And also it's like as like the artist, it's like it has a cool color like throughout the whole thing. Like I feel like the way that you go through the levels feels like very interesting, and it's like very bright and green, and it gets dark, and then you come out and back to the light, and then it's tan, and then it gets like desaturated with the volcano, and then it's really bright at the top, and then you kind of like are going through these like sine waves of like, and like just from the demo, it's obviously like super vibrant. So different areas will have different feels of the saturation and other stuff.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and Rob has a cell phone. Like he gets a call.
Yeah.
So you're like one of the old rocks and ruins. Like
you've got a sense.
That's funny.
It's a modern world. Just development is very low. They're not building up cities very much. So
for some reason.
Yeah, as well as Jeff said that when you get to the Battle of the Bands, it's a lot more Mox cars as venues. But
that's because the giant corporation,
Super Metal Records, hosts this event every year, and they like to build stuff, and everybody goes. It's actually a really positive event for the public. Just like awesome every year Battle of the Bands, right? So happens to also be connected to the storyline. But everybody comes from their sort of country town, kind of like it's way out here, and we venture to the city. That's kind of how it goes.
Humble beginnings, right?
Sure.
Give us a character that we can all relate to, and kind of like you mentioned, it's a very RPG-like thing to have these vibrant and diverse landscape, but you're still infusing with like just modern day things a little bit later on. So I think it's great. I think my next question to kind of pick up from there, RPGs tend to be on the lengthier side. Do you guys have an idealistic playtime or range, obviously, for players? And are there a lot of collectibles, side quests, stuff like that?
Yeah, so our hours, I think we were kind of around like the 12 to 15 hour range for our story.
Okay.
Was it 10 to 15? 10 to 12?
Yeah, 10,
Yeah,
like
it's
around
that.
10 to 12.
10 to 12? Okay, so the story, it's a shorter, kind of over a weekend RPG. It's definitely not the 30 plus hours that you're gonna sink into something like, I don't know, like Octopath Traveler or something that will take you months. This is short and sweet, but there's enough, I think, abilities and variety to definitely make you want to come back for it again. I think probably one of the high points is the variety of abilities that you can use to build your character and sort of play. If you're a player like me, you like to kind of experiment and swap around, try it out, and see how it goes. Yeah, that's all in there, but the story is pretty short and sweet.
Yeah, you could, I think, like if you wanted to play through with the acoustic and then your next playthrough play through the bass and the way that you play, you can use all the weapons too. We give you, we give you the choice. I think a lot of player choice.
Okay.
But if you were feeling, you put it down and you want to play again, you could play essentially like a really different style with different music, like we said, the composition of skills would be all different and stuff like that. So there's content in there and yeah, a little bit of replayability, I think, in that way.
There's side content and stuff in there, side quests, little funny things, little puzzles that you can do kind of on the side. So
difficult side bosses,
like classes, if you think about them like that, and they have their own unique backing track. So the 8 string is like metal. All your skills are metal, but you can switch it at any time. You don't need to like start your playthrough over or anything like that. So
right on. I love it. I'm a big fan of variety without having a game be too bloated. Not to say that super long games are always bloated, but I just feel like, sometimes in certain situations, many studios, probably the bigger ones, feel like they need to pad their game.
Yeah.
To, money equates to time, and it's not necessary. If you feel like it's the right amount of time with the, right quality and polish, that's all you need.
Yeah. I think we all kind of like shorter, like as far as like indies go, like shorter experiences. 10 to 15 hours is like really great.
Yeah,
really
it's a sweet spot.
Like Hyper Light Drifter for me is like one of my favorite games.
It's your favorite game too.
I'm gonna ignore this comment.
Wait, what?
Hyper Light Drifter. I played that game, so I actually beat the game. I
love that game.
I really tried hard to like the game, but there were so many frustrating moments to those mechanics that
oh my god, I'm banned from talking about the game in the Slack.
That did happen on our team.
We have a Slack bot.
You said it again.
Yeah,
I
mean,
I started working on
like the mood and aesthetic and the music, and like there's no dialogue. Like the artistic choices of that game, like really inspiring to me. So
probably why we have pixel art.
Sorry you didn't.
Yeah, no. I mean, I did notice the parallels to your game and Hyper Light Drifter. In terms of the pixel art, it looked very similar. I'm like,
I think
I'm not going to judge the book by its cover here.
I think that kind of came from. There's a funny story about our pixel art that expands beyond Connor. Is that we've also had an artist work on environment pixel art in the past. And that was a friend of ours that we knew. They're not part of Ritual Studios, but they also were not a pixel artist. They were like a high-res concept artist, very, very talented, awesome. But he wanted references from video games. He's like, what are you guys looking for? So we were like, we need trees. And we're like, we also like these games. And then what we got was this like, hey, this kind of looks like this. And we like it, And we didn't go like, hey, let's make like Hyper Light trees or whatever. We were just like, oh, the game's so like beautiful and just like looks really great, stylized and awesome. What do we make our game look like? And then it kind of turned out into having his first time touching pixel art, and our reference photos turned into that. And so much that we even had to ban the Hyper Light reference from our internal team meetings for a little while because, like in Hyper Light,
too much.
In Hyper Light,
but great game.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, a little background.
The
Just
gameplay is
super
like
quick.
nothing like it. Just
It's not at
Yeah.
all like Hyper Metroid.
There's nothing really in the gameplay. It's mostly
As long as
just
I don't feel like I need to pull out what little hair I have left. You know?
No.
See, that's the thing. I poke fun at Pat because Pat is one of the most even-keeled, even-tempered, gentle person that I know. But when I heard him go on his rant that game, I'm like,
Oh my
so I
god, I shouldn't have said anything.
no, it's all good.
Fretless will
Yes.
regrow, will grow
Yeah.
hair. So that's
You guys
the
want to play
benefit of
Hyper Light
playing our
Breaker?
game.
No, luckily I played Solar Ash, and that gave me a better opinion of Heart Machine. So
Okay.
They got a new one too.
Hyper Light
Breaker.
Breaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the 3D one, right?
Multiplayer
Mhm.
mode.
We'll see.
All right. So, with that, now that I know that playing Fretless will cause you to grow hair, which is great.
Sold.
Confirm.
I think we're gonna wrap this bad boy up. I had a blast and appreciate you guys putting up with my COVID brain. Hopefully this was fun and not too painful for you.
It's all good.
Yeah, no, thank you for having
This has
us.
been great.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really fun.
Yeah, so again, everybody check out Ritual Studios Fretless. Technically, the full title, Fretless: The Wrath of Riffson, which you can find on Steam. Once again, I'll try not to nag. Please wishlist it, and stay tuned for us here at Boss Rush to give you more details about when that will be releasing. And until then, do you guys have a particular plug that you want listeners to follow you guys or the progress news of your game?
Yeah, I think I don't really think any of us really use social media personally. I do kind of on Twitter, but we're mostly just on Twitter and then sometimes Instagram. It's at ritual_studios for both of those. We're kind of quiet at the moment, like I said, but yeah, you can definitely follow any updates with the game there. And then obviously like Steam has a lot of updates and stuff like that.
Right.
So,
And your publisher, just to confirm,
Playdigis,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So at Playdigis, PLAYDIGIOUS. So make sure you follow that. Oh, go ahead. I think, Connor, you want to say something?
Yeah, I did have one more thing. So I also have a verified account on Giphy. So that's what I kind of also did before doing Fretless, and it allows me to make GIFs that you can search up. So if you type in Fretless in like the GIFs for Instagram or anything like that, your story, you can stick on Fretless GIFs. There's maybe 12 right now, but I can add more. But you can rock
Nice.
dog and like other stuff, like a flute finch. So
Oh,
these type of-
Pat, there's going to be an incoming Fretless gift just any minute now.
Oh.
Sorry.
But yeah, if you want to find any GIFs, just type Fretless and you'll be able to find a couple.
Nice.
Hopefully update that.
Awesome. All right. Well, you guys have to sit through one bit of housekeeping before we can say goodbye. Let's see if I can make Corey proud here. If you want to support the Boss Rush podcast and the Boss Rush Network, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/Boss Rush Network at the tier that's right for you, earning you perks such as early ad-free access to this and other podcasts, exclusive access to spotlight interview access threads, voting rights on Video Game Book Club, and more. That's patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. But as always, your listenership and viewership is always enough for us. If you're watching this video on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and leave us a thumbs up or a comment. If you're listening on a podcast service like Apple Podcast or Spotify, consider leaving us a 5-star rating and review. Check out our merch on TeePublic with over 50 designs to rep your favorite shows and more. And as always, you can check out all our content, reviews, articles, and more on bossrush.net. How'd I do, Pat?
I give it a B.
I know, I'm not as good at it as Corey is.
Impressive to me.
Harsh.
B+.
Well, once again, thank you, Max, Dave, Jeff, Connor. It was a pleasure. Please be in touch. Good luck with the continued development of your game, and I'm looking forward to playing the next iteration of the demo and eventually the full game.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/Boss Rush Network. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.